Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our fourth Knowledge Bytes AI-powered teaching, Elevate, Innovate, Differentiate series. This is session number 4, AI for Student Engagement and Assessment. My name is Jose Adorno. I'm the Digital ATN Coordinator, and I am accompanied by our Digital ATN Technology Specialist, Brianna Patriarca.
Hello.
We have a couple things that we're going to be talking today, but before that, we just have an announcement to make. And that is that we're going to case. For our next and final session, we are going to be live. We're live now if you're in the session. We are attending recording if you're watching it after, but we will be in person at CASE, and that will be on Thursday, March 7, 2024. We're going to be covering tools for personalized learning. This is our final session. It doesn't mean that it's our last thing that we're going to be talking about AI. Part of the approach is the next steps is that using what we've covered up to this point regards to with the AI tools, we are also going to continue our support through the digital ATDN tech support and implementation sessions, as well as to provide resources as to help you navigate, select the tools, and that kind of thing. There's a lot that is happening with AI. There's something that we're going to be talking about soon in regards to the AI, and it's very exciting and it's very fast paced. But one of the things that we want to make sure is that we want to help you meet you where you are, what works for you, what makes sense for you or your agency and your students, and that way plan as to ways to incorporate the tools at the agency. In today's session, participants will build and adapt automated assessment tools using AI, use AI to improve the learning experience through personalized assessments and engagement techniques, and participate in a Q&A session where participants can bring questions revolving around AI-powered teaching with student engagement and assessments. Before we go into the tools that we're going to be using today and what these AI tools are capable of, we wanted to do a think and share. Uh, you could either unmute and share, or you could type in the chat. We have 3 questions here to kind of guide your thoughts. One is, what do you use for student engagement and assessments? Do you need to differentiate your resources to meet the needs of your learners? What tools and strategies do you use? And last but not least, in what ways do you think AI can help you in this process? I'll give it a minute. You could unmute if you like and share in the group, or you could also put it in the chat. We use standardized assessments like CASAs and formative assessments in the classroom, tasks to complete to demonstrate understanding. Yes, nice. With CASA's assessments, it gives a good idea as to what skills and things that students need in order to continue to, just not just to meet the next level, but also to meet where they are. I'm not currently teaching, but our teachers use Burlington English and Kami to engage the students with the materials. Nice. Thank you both for sharing. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going too fast. Let me slow down. There was a purpose
Thank
to
you for
put number
numbering
2,
it,
and I just kept
Christine. Yeah.
going.
Well, every time you hit enter, it
Yeah.
it sends it. So
No, you're right. My apologies. I saw it. It was like 1 right there clearly, and I just kept going. We need to differentiate reading levels mostly. Yes, that's a common. That's one of the biggest challenges. Yep. Our teachers do have difficulty finding resources to differentiate the learning process.
I do know that like a chat GPT, you can put a text in and ask it to rewrite it at a certain level. That's helpful.
Yes, so ChatGPT is a good example.
And that's
Is
the
able
extent
to
of my AI experience. That's it.
Well, that's good. That's good. That's one of the biggest challenges. Just finding. Usually, before you had to look for something, and if it didn't, either it was you trying to reduce it to make it easier, or you just had to keep looking until you found something that was pertaining to the level. So, having the opportunity just to change the text using ChatGPT to lower the level just gives you a lot more flexibility. It just frees you from the time that you would spend otherwise in trying to make it adjusted to what a student needs. But we're excited what we're going to be talking about today. Good leeway to that. Thank you all for sharing. So before we go into this, we need to reshare so that way. I don't know if you're familiar with this. This is new. Came out, I think it came out last week or maybe 2 weeks. It was announced at the beginning of January. And okay, I'm hoping that you guys could see the screen.
Yep.
Go to oh, you probably can't. Can you hear it or no?
No.
Okay, yep. I forgot to do that. 1 second. I mean, it's music, but I'm gonna give the. Can you hear it now?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna give the context quickly, and I'll mute myself so you could just tune into it. Basically, Samsung came out with what they call as Samsung Galaxy AI, and what's different about this AI in particular is that it's not cloud-based, and by cloud, we're talking that it's usually if you're using ChatGPT, if you're using any of the Amazon. Last time I activated Alexa because I didn't have it muted. But if you have an Alexa or you have a Bixby or any other AI tool or AI assistant, it needs internet in order to communicate and do that processing. The Galaxy phones have now built into the processor, which is what runs the device, AI component where it runs locally, which then technically runs faster, it's more efficient because it doesn't rely on the internet and that kind of thing, other than the updates, of course. So what we're going to see here is using live translation in a phone call. You set it up, you have to download the language package on the phone, but after that's done, when you make the call, you could turn on the AI translation. And this is how it looks like.
Hello. Hola. Esta llamada se está traduciendo y subtitulando de forma simultánea. Hola.
I booked a taxi at the airport.
He reservado un taxi en el aeropuerto.
Sí, por favor, espera a la puerta 1. Yes, please wait at gate 1.
Okay, I'll be waiting.
Ok. Estaré esperando.
Hello.
Hola. Esta llamada se está traduciendo y subtitulando de forma simultánea. Hola.
Hola, soy la anfitriona. ¿A qué hora llega hoy?
Hello, I'm the host. What time do you arrive today?
I'm going there by taxi now. I'll be there in an hour.
Estoy yendo en taxi. Estaré allí en una hora.
Genial. Nos vemos pronto.
Great. See you soon.
There, I remember to unmute before I continue talking. Now, we know that this is demo number 1 because there's no name being introduced or looking for reservations and things like that. But generally speaking, this, if it works as displayed, could be very useful for students or learners. Let's say if we're trying to do like student onboarding or over the phone call, we're trying to talk to them, get them to register and just get that basic information going on. My hope is to get hands-on of the device and just test it out. I don't know anyone that has one, so that might be me in case asking people around if they have the new Samsung and see how that works. But this is just an example of how they're integrating with different devices and continuing to unfold possibilities as to how you could use AI in different ways. Brianna.
All right. So there are a couple different types of AI. So I know Christine mentioned ChatGPT. So ChatGPT and similar ones such as Bard and Bing's AI are open AI models. So these types have larger and varied data sets. They can show knowledge on a variety of topics. And when you're using them, you have to be very, very, very specific and detailed in your prompts to get the desired output that you want. So if you were looking for a translation, you have to specify that. If you want it formatted a certain way or summarized a certain way or leveled a certain way, you have to like specify all of that to get it how you want it. And OpenAI in general is great to kind of kickstart projects with outlines or ideas. You know, if you wanted to create content such as, you know, maybe dialogues or a customized plan with links, things like that. I started with ChatGPT and then got curious and binged on TikTok and then found a bunch of closed AIs that have smaller data sets and instructions, but are geared specifically for educators. So it's looking at educational content. So it offers more specific content responses, and there's specific design to it so that it's easier to use and get exactly what you're looking for in terms of an output. And you'll see that today. Both of the things that Jose and I are going to be sharing and going over are closed AI. So it is great for differentiating materials and replicating or getting similar results across prompts. In the PD that we did, I think it was the second one in the series for Knowledge Bytes, we went over like ChatGPT and Bard and Bing, and it was totally different results across all three, even though we gave the exact same prompt and we were pretty specific. So with closed AI, it's a little bit more consistent across the tools in terms of what you get.
in our third session of Knowledge Bytes, which, by the way, they can all be accessed at our professional development website for Digital ATDN. We actually compile a playlist of all the Knowledge Bytes if you wanted to just binge watch them all, or if you wanted to just have them in one place, you could access them that way with the slides and everything that we covered. But this is what we worked with from using AI, just to get a few of the components, just kind of wrap around some of the ways that we can use AI, and then tweak to get what the results that we were looking for. So for this, we included the slide here, but the components that we are looking at, or we will be targeting across with these tools, will be needs assessment, content selection and organization, choosing and developing instructional methods, creating assessment strategies, and review and evaluation. And of course, while they're not directly specified each one, when you're looking at the different activities and content that the AI tools are generating, they fall into one or more of these categories. And with that, this is our our session check-in for privacy and practice. And as with any of the other AI tools out there, it's important to review the privacy policies and terms of use to see how the information is being collected and what are you able to do when using AI tools. It's been known that, or it's been a known concern on how AI collects this data. A lot of this data gets turned into its data set, it's collected, and there's a lot of copyrights and a lot of things that are happening across AI. You have that on certain area, but many of these AI tools have your privacy and they're really upfront as to how they use the information. And regardless of how secure they are, one of the things that we always advise is to not put in privacy information or identifiable information that, like, if you wouldn't share it in a social media post, you don't share it in the AI, right? And that's kind of a good frame to look at it. With that said, in looking into copyright content and what you can and can't put, one of the terms that we looked into was ReadWorks. And this is what ReadWorks says. So copyright ReadWorks Inc. will share passages, question sets, activities, pictures, and logos with you while you are using the site, but they're not yours to keep. You cannot copy, display, publish, distribute, modify, or otherwise use any ReadWorks content on the site for any purpose. So when we are looking to differentiating resources and content, a lot of in the terms of use and privacy policies, you would find what you can and can't do with certain resources. And in this case, modifying content, which would technically is what we will be working on here as we differentiate, will be so for me, that's an indicator, okay, I cannot use ReadWorks to differentiate the levels and things like that. There are other resources that, as long as you're referring to them, and a lot of these, this is where the open educational resources come to play, that do allow some modification as long as you're citing where you're getting it from. And then in those cases, as long as you follow those, the Creative Commons, then it'll allow you, or you're safe to modify and generate content like that. So we wanted to get an example because it's a question that comes up. But we also included here DFID's and TWI's privacy policies for additional information on how they collect and use data as well. Any questions so far before we go into a deep dive into the tools? If you have any questions or concerns, just feel free to put it in the chat, and I'm more than helpful. Okay, thank you. I'm more than helpful. More than happy to stop and answer the question. Our first program is DIFIT. And DIFIT is an AI tool that is built to support teachers by creating differentiated resources based on reading levels and language that can be used in the classroom. And this here on the right side is technically copied from the website, right? So step one is whatever you're teaching, we've got you covered. So either if you're putting a link, if you're putting a video, if you're actually typing in a topic or typing in an export or uploading a PDF, it claims that literally anything that you put there, it could generate something for you. Once it generates the content, you could customize it. And here's this because teachers knows best. So it'll let you edit based on what it generated for you. And then from there, you can export, which takes you to the getting student ready activities, which then here it says turn your content into just right activities with our library of high quality student ready reports, exports, which that just right is reminds me of Goldilocks. But I have 2 daughters, so that probably have background context there. So DFIT pricing, something that we encountered, both Brianna and I, as we were going with the different AI tools, is a lot of these tools started free. And when they're free, there's a lot of bells and whistles that we can use, and they're very, very enticing to go in and start using. As they continue to elaborate and add more things to it, then some of them changed, and the both tools that we're covering today ended up going to that route. DFIT has a not I don't want to call it promotion. They have like an extended license right now to get access to everything up to like March 1st. But that's most likely for those that were early adopters. But they do have a DFIT Lite version for teachers, which is this first column over here. A lot of the things that we will be using for DFIT is going to follow under the school license, but they are also releasing a paid, not saying that that you need to go paid, but they are releasing a paid like mid-February where you could do that individually. But there's additional information here on the different school section. I will prompt you like what falls under the free and what doesn't fall under the free, so that way you could get an idea of how it's being structured in the program. In our first example, and what I'll do is I'm going to switch screens so I can show you the live site. The way that we approach it for DFIT is that we have the literally anything, which is the first column. And actually I'll pull it and we're just gonna follow this and you could see how it goes. So let me do a new share. It's better when you see it live. But if you're accessing this in recording or you're following along or revisiting after, there's links here that will take you to all the information that that was generated in the example, so that way you could see how it works and how it got to that point. But then you could also work on your own and create your own content. So the first one was type the Bill of Rights in the search bar. So when we go to the DFIT page, everyone can see the DFIT page? Okay. So here, learning resources for all. This is what I said that was directly from the website, right? And then we're going to go to teacher start here. If you do not have an account, this is where it's going to prompt you to create an account. And then you could sign up using Google, or you could sign up using entering like your email and password for it. Here we have literally anything. So here the example, I'm only going to type in the Bill of Rights. You can select what's the approximate reading level. I'm trying to remember what I did before, so I could select something different. It's going to click 9th grade and then the language. So you could click on generate resources. It's going to take a minute while it generates. Use Diffit to build background knowledge. Oh, I'll try to complete reading it. Here you go. So you have the Bill of Rights. The first thing that you're going to see images. Unlike Canva Magic Studio, which generates images, and create images on their own, and DALL-E and other, Diffit doesn't create images. It searches images that relate to the topic, and you'll have a list over here. So you can select what image you would like to use, if you would like to use one, or you could add your own by searching on the right side, right? And then here, also you'll get the image source here. So in the example that we have previously, this is the one that I used, and then I added the image source from where it's from. Here you have the adapted reading passage. Now, because I wasn't specific, what it did is that as you read through it, it only reaches to the 6th. It goes 6, 8, so it didn't give me all 10, right? So if I would do show resource, if I select show sources, then we get here where it's pulling the information from, and then we could find the rest of the amendments, the rest of the amendments that are not listed here, which you could edit, or you could give a more specific prompt, asking for the 10, and instead of just saying Bill of Rights. Okay, I'm going to hide sources here. You have a brief summary that covers what's discussed there. You have vocabulary words. It defaults by 5. This is where some of the paid features, sorry, this is some of the paid features go. To add additional vocabulary words, you'll click here and they'll let you add, it'll generate more for you. But you could edit and then add if you wanted to do others. Same thing with multiple choice. How do you get there? Yes. So in order to get there, and I'll step back, right? You go here to start. This is where you begin, and you type in. I just typed in the Bill of Rights. I didn't add anything additional to it. And then you select the grade level and then the language. When you click generate sources, it'll get you to that point. It'll process the information, and then it'll create. Right now, for me to get back to it, I go under my resources. And I click here the only reason there's too many of them is because we were refining the different tools that we were going to be using for the presentation, right? So it says more than one Bill of Rights, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. So you have this information here. You get the key vocabulary words, multiple choice. You get short answer questions and open-ended questions. This is the format of everything that you put into Diffit, right? That's what you get. You could decide to use it or not to use it. But for everything that you're including, that's the format that it's following. Now, I'm working on a citizenship class, or I'm working for this for Spanish GED, and I need to translate this. You go here to the translate option, you click on it, you choose your language. You have multiple languages here. So you're doing citizenship and you wanted to make sure that they had like the version in a different language. You could do that. And then here in this case, I'm clicking Spanish. It's asking what sections you would like to translate. And you click translate. And it does the same thing. The difference here is it's translating everything that's there. It's not adding anything different. But it'll give you the Spanish version of it. So usually with Spanish GED's content, it's very difficult to find sometimes the same quality resource that you found in one language and trying to match it in another. Plus getting activities, plus getting open-ended questions and all that. This allows you to get everything that it generated in the same language and will translate everything, right? And when you click on the sources, it still has the same links. It won't translate what's in the documents. However, that could be the next example that we're going to be showing. Okay. So now, if I wanted to go back to see the English version of what I had selected, I go here to my resources, which is on top here. So you have Diffit, Start New, and My Resources. And here you have a list of everything that you've completed. You could search here by the Bill of Rights. So you'll pull up anything that has that information, or you could select, you could find it here. See, this is Spanish and this is the English. So this right here, there's a question in the chat. This right here is Diffit. This is Diffit, yeah.
And I did chat out the link for Diffit if you wanted to go and create an account as well.
Thank you. So here you click on student activities. I'm going to show you which one is my favorite. But here you could print or save as PDF. This is free. This is the only one that's going to fall into the free version. So there, if you don't like the format and you have the free version, you could, it gives you the option, and I'm going to back out for a second, to copy what sections that you wanted to keep, and then manually you will have to paste it. More work, but it's less work than actually trying to translate it or rewriting in a different language. But going back to the Get Student Activities, my favorite so far is the Freyer. I see it.
That was towards the top, I think.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, top right.
There it is. It's this one. And I'll show you why. So basically what this does is it gets all the content that's available from the search that you did or what it generated, and it'll make it as a Google slide. It'll allow you to either post it directly to Google Classroom if you have Google Classroom, or lets you download as PDF or download as a PowerPoint as well. For now, we're going to do Google Slides. You get your instructions here. It gives you different links and suggestion as to how to follow through the lesson. This is your vocabulary practice. So you have ratified, the definition. It'll give you characteristics. Oops, I moved us up here 1 second. non-examples, examples. But my favorite part here is really you get the notice and wonder, which is reflecting on the image, right? But then it breaks everything by paragraph. So instead of reading the entire document in one sitting and then answer questions or take notes, you could guide students in reading by paragraph and taking notes. So that way, especially if you're trying to break it down so it's easier to understand, especially if there's a lot of we're talking about amendments, what they mean and all that. Which this still needs a little bit more work. So you could get like the amendment, but you could customize it to make an amendment for each page. Then it provides you the space for students to process this information and take notes along the way. And then the same thing, if you have it in a different language, you'll export it in that language and so on and so forth. So this was the first example. There are two more examples, but they work exactly the same way. So for time purposes, what I'm going to do, so the second example is a career planning, and it's a YouTube video. And then the third example was an article. For the article, what I ended up doing, just to get the haha and see how it worked, is that I exported it as a PDF or printed it as a PDF, and I posted it. I uploaded it as a PDF document. When I did that, and I could show you, actually, let me show you first. What you do is you have your article or video here, right? So you could paste your YouTube video. Do the same thing. You select the reading level and you select the language and you generate resources. The only difference here with video is that what we encountered, you have to have closed captions. In YouTube, you get closed captions for videos. However, if there is a message alerting that it might not be appropriate for particular audiences, that kind of triggers like there's no caption, and then you can't. It says that it can't do it. So it depends on the video. You'll paste it here and it'll generate. And it works the same way as an article. So you're clicking on the article that you would like to look for or you're reading. The example that I have in the presentation is for an article on COVID, and then that you paste it in the article. I mean, the URL here, and then it'll generate the resource that way. For any text or excerpt, this is if you're doing like a copy paste and then you're pasting it here. Or if you have a PDF, you could click on choose file, select the file, and then upload. So where is it? So here you have the article. You can select the grade level. I'm going to click third grade. The good thing about it is that when you're exporting out, it by default, it takes off the grade level from the reading. So usually what I've encountered previously is that if I'm getting leveled readings, I always find if it's something K to 12, right? But it's relevant for adult learners, I always find that grade level there. So you have to be creative, take it out or erase it or make a copy and that kind of thing. Here by default, you'll see that what grade level it is. But when you're doing the get student activities, right here, the reading level, it's unchecked. So that would just not show up for the handout, or if you have it in a Google slide or PowerPoint, so on and so forth. Now, this was the article. This is the resource that it pulled up. The video, the image is Ole Miss News, University of Mississippi. but I could go here and look at other images. So this is Science Friday. So again, this is not creating anything new. It's using, it's pulling from online on topics that's the same. DFID is a website that can be used for ESL, science, social studies, and yes, correct. And it follows the same frame across the different topics. And I find it is a great way for like Spanish GED as well. I mean, when you're looking for those resources that you can't find it in a different language, but you like the content of what it is, and you know, you can't find a comparable version in that language. You could have what you're using already in English, let's say, if you're using like articles and that kind of thing and translating it that way. Any questions with DFID? I'll give it a minute because earlier I went too fast. Didn't give any chance for someone to ask a question. Again, just for reference, these here, these 3 examples will show you how are linked with the different, like if you wanted to see the 5th grade level of the Bill of Rights and the 11th grade plus, you get to see what the document, the Google Doc includes. You get to see the analysis workbook, the ACAPS, which is like author, context. They have 5 different ones. This way, it's kind of breaks down the text. One is like a primary resource text, and that kind of thing. But there's many for you to choose from. And once you have that structure, it's a matter of just, you know, it's more like a, I don't want to say rinse and repeat, but you're really creating a structure, a routine, and that's how you could approach the different aspects, having some of that basic content from, or general content across the different topics and subjects that you're using.
So Jose, so you basically you're saying that this is a free website. So I would have to create an account under my name to access DFID. Is that true?
Yes. So you create an account. Once you create an account, and let me pull one of the resources. So with a free account, you could generate this information, what you see on this page, pretty much, right? So you could do the translation, you can do, you'll have the vocabulary, and it does like 3 multiple choice, 3 short answer, and 3 open-ended. Anything in addition to that, usually you go into the paid version of it. And in those cases, I wanted to say it's right now is behind like the school paywall or the school account. They're releasing something for like a pro account. I think it's $14.99 based on what I saw from the website. It was free before, but now and it's still technically in beta, so they haven't done any paid until what I'm assuming is after they clear the beta phase, which looks like it's going to be, I think it gave me March 1st. You see up here. But you get this part here for free. What you're limited is to getting additional exercises, and then like these other tools. You get the first one, the print and save or save. And originally when we were doing this, everything was free as of the time. And that's kind of been our, like throughout Knowledge Bytes, as of the time, this is free. But New Year found us with new plans. I'll pass it to you, Brianna. If you have any additional questions, feel free to put it in the chat or on mute, and I'm more than happy to help out as well.
I just need sharing permission.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so everyone can see the screen? Awesome. All right, so I am sharing TWE. So TWE has a number of tools in it that you can use. For example, there's a bunch of video tools, so you can create a bunch of different questions around videos from YouTube. Like Jose mentioned with Diffit, if there is an age restriction to it, it will not allow you to use that video. You can generate dialogue, stories, letters, articles for any topic and level. You can create a bunch of different questions, including multiple choice questions, open questions, true, false statements. You can generate essay topics, discussion questions, facts, quotes by famous people related to any topic. And then there's a few different types of vocabulary exercises as well, and much more. So as always, as we mentioned earlier, definitely check the privacy policy, especially when it comes to copying and pasting materials into TWE. There we go. So as Jose said, pretty much every tool we have shared, except for maybe Chat and Bard and Bing, has been right leading up to the presentation. They go from free to a pricing model, but you can still use the free version. The big thing with TWE's free version is you have a limited number of runs. So I actually, when playing around to figure out all my examples for today, ran out and had to create a whole new account so that I could present today. So just something to be aware of. But you can do 20 text tool runs, 5 media runs, which you'll see. They do have a max for the free on videos, so it can only be a 5-minute video, but I'm going to show you a trick in my presentation on how you can kind of work around that a little bit. And you can export to PDF. They also have an option where you can extract text from an image. So if you had an infographic or something like that, you can use those as well to pull out information. So TWE is actually primarily meant for English teachers, but it can be used for other subject areas as well, just like Diffit. And I'll show you, I'm going to focus most of my examples kind of more on the other subject areas just to demonstrate that. But they do use the CEFR standard or the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, which we are obviously not used to because we use CASAs. So I provided kind of the what that equals out to. So once we get into TWE, you'll see they group it by the letters. So it's beginner and elementary is one level type, intermediate and upper intermediate is another level type, and then the advanced and proficient is the third level type option. So obviously thinking like ESL 1, 2, or 3, or even GED students, the lower level students that kind of need that simpler, easier vocabulary to grasp the concepts, you'd use that A level and so on. So one thing I do like about TWE is they have a lot of pre-built lesson plans as examples. And I'm going to show you how you would access those in a second. The link is here. And if you click on the graphic, once Jose sends out the slide deck, there is a short, I think it's 6 or 7 minute video. It really just kind of walks through how to build out the lessons. I'm going to demonstrate it, obviously, the presentation, but for later reference, if you just wanted a refresher, you can also view the video to see how they do it. So I'm going to chat out the link. And just like Jose did, I do have the examples that I'm going to go over kind of built in to the presentation so you can see. Oopsies, I accidentally clicked it. And so that way you can reference it afterwards if you're wondering kind of like where I got in the presentation. So this is the site. So once again, it's built for English teachers, but you can use it for the other subject areas. You do need to create an account to use it. And right at the top, without even logging in, if you click on lessons, you can see the different lessons, and they have a bunch of different examples of lessons built out using all of TWE's tools. I'm going to log in. All right, so once you log in, sorry, everyone else left. Once you log in, it has your latest projects at the top, and then it has all the tools underneath. Before we dive in, I'm going to show you where you would check how your usage is, namely because I want to make sure I'm in the right account. So if you click on free and then account settings, it will tell you where you're at in terms of the number of usages you've done for the tools. And it breaks it down by like watch and listen. So the videos, we have read and understand text, learn and practice new words, drill some grammar, make your students speak, and then ideas for homework. What I like about TWE, and you'll see once we dive into an example, is that you really just need to kind of start with one tool, and you don't really have to return back to the main page to start incorporating other tools. So as long as you kind of have an idea of what you want to start with, you can go from there. So for example, let's say that I'm doing a social studies lesson on the US Industrial Revolution. We could be talking about this in an ESL classroom as well. And to start off, I want to find some facts. So I'm going to just search the tools because I know it's here. And it's under Students Speak. So I'm going to find some interesting facts on any given topic. For language, unlike DFID, it only offers English. But if you really wanted British English, you could do that as well. And I'm just going to type in US Industrial Revolution. Once again, we have our levels, so simple, intermediate, or advanced. I'm going to do intermediate for this one and do the magic. So it'll automatically, right next to kind of my prompt window, give me 10 interesting facts on the Industrial Revolution. So I could add a short description, maybe give some directions for my students. So review the 10 facts. I can change the title of it if I want. And then we have some view options. So I could have it fancy looking, or I could go plain. I personally prefer fancy. And then show in project or not show in project. And the show in project is important when you go to export it. So if you don't want certain pieces of this showing, you would change that here. You could copy it. So if you wanted to use it somewhere else, you could hit copy, or if you wanted to edit. So maybe, once again, you should always double check for accuracy. And Cesar, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, so thank you so much for showing this website. So it seems to me that every website that you have shown so far for the past session and today's session, it seems to me that we, as a teacher, I have to create an account, basically a username and password to be able to play with this. And I think that what would be great is to have a list of free websites that my school can access for all subject areas. So meaning from math to history to science to social studies and even ESL, because I'm the person in charge to demonstrate everything that I've learned from you guys to everybody else in school.
Okay, so you're doing what we're doing, but you're within the school, like trying to show it all. Yeah, and so there are a lot of like we've only shown like kind of like the top ones that we've discovered. And unfortunately, most of them, actually pretty much all the ones that I've come across do require accounts to access them. So I think there was one that really wouldn't be necessarily even like something you would use often in education in your classroom that didn't require an account, and it was more like voice cloning than anything else. But towards the end, I do have a slide deck that shares the ones that we've gone over in Knowledge Bytes so far in the series, and so that would probably be the list that we have available right now, unless there's someplace else, Jose, that I don't know of on the website.
Well, I
So-
am not familiar with ChatGPT. I don't know if we're gonna even get there. I don't even know what ChatGPT stands for. I mean, what it's for. But what I'm seeing so far is that it's a bunch of websites that you're showing me how to use for different subjects, and I really appreciate.
So the part of the Knowledge Bytes, right? We handpicked some of the tools in order to show like what's available that with some time to put in eventually pays off like to like how much, you know, either you're saving time, generating some of the content. With the after the Knowledge Bytes series, we have a couple things that we're doing an extension of that will build off of what's being presented here on these sessions. But also we also work with agencies directly in finding ways to incorporate these tools to the needs of the agencies, the teachers, the students, right? So my suggestion would be that if we set up a tech supporters implementation session, it could be something that could be discussed, and then either we get something that fits what you're looking for, or it could be something that we could even provide something at your agency where we could help out in delivering some of these specifically to what you're looking for. With the AI tools, a lot of them, what we found is that there's so many of them. There's like hundreds at this point, and it gets very overwhelming. So what we did was try to get look at them, see which ones are more popular ones, why are they being considered or being highly regarded by teachers and that kind of thing, and then facilitating and kind of saving you the time for search. So there's additional options out there, which is also, you know, a possibility that might fit best to what you're looking for. So I mean, we're open to discuss that too.
So it's mostly controlled features, not so much students exploring on their own on these websites. That's what I gathered from.
Okay, so you're saying for teachers, not necessarily students, correct?
Correct. For what I'm seeing so far in your presentation is as a teacher I will have to create an account, play with it, you'll get comfortable so I can show it to other teachers. Now the question they're gonna come to me and say, well, how can I implement this with students? And that would be a second discussion, but that would be probably in the long run, yes.
Yeah, so most of the primary things that we've been going over in the series are like tools directly for teachers to utilize to help with content assessment, things like that. I wouldn't necessarily have students going into TWE. I think the plan, Jose, is as Jose said, as part of the extension of this is eventually like talking about how AI can be utilized by students, right?
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah. So we have our interesting facts. You can edit it. So once again, if you found something that was wrong, or you wanted to adjust the language or adjust one of the facts at all, you would just hit edit to do that. If you're like, you know what, this doesn't even meet my needs, you can delete it. They give you little like emojis to kind of help them out. So if you liked it, disliked it, or if your mind was completely blown by it, you can kind of help them along with that. And then below that, it offers additional tools to help build out a lesson. So, and this is what I meant by you really don't ever have to return to the homepage to look at the tools. It just kind of automatically prompts you with additional tools you can use. So let's say we have our facts and maybe now I want to do some discussion questions. So I click it, it's going to automatically copy what I had for my topic or text from the first, as well as the level. And you can also add in some target vocabulary. So if you had specific words that you wanted them to utilize, you could do that here. So let's just say assembly line as an example. And I can do that magic. And it's going to focus on, because I only gave one, a lot of questions with assembly line in it. And then let's just keep building it up. So let's say, you know what, like, I feel like I need a lead-in activity to this. That isn't one of the options here, but I can always access it in the left-hand panel. And expand it to find it. So I know, because I did this to save time earlier, that it was under speaking, and I can just click in lead in activity and it's going to add it to the lesson that I'm building. Do US Industrial Revolution. And then do magic. And you'll notice underneath, if I need text, you can try to create based on a topic. If I didn't have like a full text that I was copying in, it really does the same thing, even if you just type the topic. And so I have 3 lead-in activities that I could do with my students to introduce it. In the scheme of my lesson, though, this is the bottom one, which I would probably do this as the first thing. So if you hover over the number, you'll see the arrow, and it moves it up to second, and then I can move it up to first. And so I have 3 pieces. So maybe this is a very small lesson. And this is all for like kind of that intermediate level. So if I wanted, I could export this as is and then go back in and change the levels to 3 or sorry, to the simple or to the advanced. So that way I have 3 different levels, all of the same lesson. So to export, in that left-hand menu, you just save as PDF. And it has it all built in. So it's a nice, pretty, already formatted worksheet or lesson that you could use in classroom. Other tools like Magic Tool, which is one I shared in a previous one in ChatGPT, the formatting isn't as pretty right out the gate. So it does kind of require some, additional work to make it more like student ready. When it's very plain text, I feel like for students and even for myself, it's very hard to kind of differentiate between sections. And it just makes it a little bit harder to read and do because it's just not visually interesting. So that's one of the things I like about TWE is it comes out very like teacher friendly ready. Oops. Okay, and as I said, you could save that and then go back through, adjust the other levels, and run it again. Run each one again so it's all in those levels. I'm going to do it for this first one just to see if you redo one. All it does is create a tile on top. So you can use the arrows to go back. So this would be my level, the first one that I did. So the B level, and then I have my A level. And you could just pick whichever one you want to use to do the thing. So you could do all 3 different levels and kind of have it scaffolded if you wanted. Offers a lot of kind of chances for you as the educator to differentiate it as you need. And you also have the option to include answers. So if you did want them to have the answer key, you can have that toggled or toggled off.
And this is just off, excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt. This is just off the free account.
This is just off the free. So the big thing, the difference between the free and the advanced, the paid, is the number of runs you can do. So every time that I did magic, click do magic, that counts as a run. So I can do 20 in a month and then it resets. For the videos, anytime you're doing like a video link, it's 10 runs. And there's a max of 5 minutes for the video, which I'm going to show you in this next example, kind of how you can like, I don't want to say circumvent, but kind of work around that a little bit. And right now, all they have is export to PDF. I wouldn't be surprised though if, like Diffit, they quickly add on to like exporting to Google and things like that. That kind of seems the direction that pretty much all of them are going, especially these education-based teacher tools. My million tabs open. Oh, nope, that's the pricing. I'm right back to where I was. There we go. All right, so if we go back to home, so let's do more of a math example. So let's say I want to do an example on how to, how to calculate percent off. And this is something that I could also potentially, once again, do with my ELL students in terms of language and, shopping and a unit on that. So I'm going to, for ELL, you could do the convert audio and video to text, and it basically just kind of creates that transcript. I don't know if you've ever looked at the YouTube transcripts and tried to take that and use it. They aren't as like user friendly and like teacher friendly in terms of formatting when you do that. So this is a nice way to do it here. I'm going to do for my questions, I want them to choose the right summary. So I'm going to take my link. I have it saved so that way I didn't have to go find it and print it here. So I have a discounts and sale prices example. And this video is 7 minutes and 4 seconds, which it caps out at 5. It will not let me go longer. I watched this video earlier and they actually break it down and he goes over one question and then he has a second question. And that second question starts right around like the 4 minute and like 7 second mark. You can actually, you probably can't hear it because I didn't optimize when I shared, but you can actually watch the video in Twee, so you can kind of work out how you wanted to break it down or what section you really want to pull questions from. We once again select our level. So for this one, let's do advanced, and then we do our magic. And we have all the same options. Once again, you can add the description, you can edit the title, we have our view options. And then it gives 3 summaries and the students would select which one is the correct summary or which one is the accurate summary. It has my answer for me. And I want to build this out a little bit more. So I'm going to do, some essential vocabulary, or you could do essential vocabulary for ESL using the transcript. Maybe I want to do some additional questions. So they pick the summary, but I want to really make sure that they grasped what they were learning. So I'm going to stick with that 4 to 6 and do some ABCD questions. Once again, stick with the advanced level. All right. And I have my questions here. I could go in and edit it. So maybe edit buttons at the bottom. So maybe I felt like this was, kind of a repetitive question. I can just type the question, whatever I want the question to be. I could select what the correct answer is, or maybe I just want to remove the question altogether and I can just click delete. And there we go. So I have my questions. And then I want to build it out even a little bit more. And I want them to actually answer some questions regarding the second one, the second part of the video, that second question. So I can stay here, just shift it once again to like that, right when the second question would start, and do magic again. And now I have questions for the second part of the video. Now, once again, like we have it where it's stacked because I did the two things, the same tool twice. You can click on the show as separate task and it will bump it down as a separate task. So I could have it, these multiple choice questions for both parts. And maybe I want them to actually practice looking at a shopping list and maybe doing some calculations. So it doesn't have it here, but I know there's one called Bits and Pieces. I believe it's under reading. Yep, reading bits. And I want to create a price list. So create, I don't have to write create. So maybe I want a sales flyer. Price list. And for ELL students, if there were certain target vocabulary I wanted, I could include that here. And it creates a list of prices. So, sorry. So the one thing I will say is you can't really necessarily build out math questions directly in Tweet. But I could use this as my starting point and then add in additional questions that they would answer based off of this sales flyer price list. So instead of having to like create it off the top of my head, I could just use this as my base and then build it out. I could also, once again, put like in, whoops, where's my edit button? I always think it's at the top. I could also add in, you know, take an additional 40% off. Whoops. Can't see my keyboard to see the letters. Take an additional 40. And so I could use that to like create my questions. Like what would the sale price be for the smart TV? And keep building it out and out and out. So just like Diffit, it does save and retain like all of the examples that you build out. So it'll be with the latest ones here. You can also click on my projects to search them all. You can favorite them. So if there's one you really like, that way it'll show up in the favorites bar. And you can also favorite tools as well. So if there was, you know, you really like the convert audio to text, it'll end up showing here. Any questions about Tweet?
I think it's great for if we were to create a quick warm-up. I think this is great.
Yeah, it's great. Like if you wanted just like a quick, like shorter activity with a couple questions, things like that. Yes. And for, like I said, it is primarily built for English. So you'll see in some of the lesson examples that are available if you sign out, like it is like a full on lesson. Probably like most of them could probably go for about an hour, at least the few that I looked at. And obviously you don't want them exclusively necessarily working in that printout. You might want to like build in some other things in between as they go, but just a great way to just kind of build it. I mean, if you think about it, the amount of time it would take just to build out these questions, like watch the video, extract questions. I developed cybersecurity training for EastCon where I work, and I watched a video, my brain was a little bit fried, and I'm like, I don't know what to ask to like test learning on this. And I literally came and to Tweet and did the multiple choice questions and then just put it into my training. So it is a huge time saver just to kind of get the gears going and get an initial base for your assessments. And then you can easily differentiate it for lower level and upper level. I know at EastCon, when I worked in adult ed, we had a lot of multiple level classrooms. And so, to make it where everyone's doing the same thing, it was very tedious for teachers to differentiate that. And this kind of does it for you, which is nice. All right, and as I mentioned, the examples are built in. I can also share kind of like the printout as well if you wanted to see. But as I said, the lessons page on TWE's actual website, they have so many examples. And I don't know if, whoops, I forget it always goes to the, so many to go from. I liked the Learning English with Memes one, personally. I thought that was cute. But just a lot of examples you can use to see how they're built out.
So just like you, excuse me, so just like you can create an account for free, what happens if you decide, you know what, now that I show it to my colleagues, I don't want to have these accounts under my name, I want to delete it. Is there a way to delete the accounts automatically?
That is a great question. Let's see. You might have to contact them directly to delete the account. This is still like in the beta stages, so in like the beginner stages of development. So I'm sure if you contacted them, you could delete it or request that they delete the account. I will actually test that out for you because I have 2 accounts now and I really don't need to. So I will do that and I will see what the process is. I just want to make a note because I'll forget by tomorrow. And that's very smart of you to delete them because I don't, and then I get riddled with emails forever on updates and all that stuff.
Exactly.
So when selecting the AI tool, right, they all kind of have different purposes and different pros and cons. And so these are the ones that we've covered so far in the Knowledge Bytes series. So ChatGPT, Bard, Bing AI, these all require very specific detailed prompts. You have to specify exactly what you're looking for, the leveling. You have to kind of do that initially. There's no prompt on their end necessarily that's going to ask you that information like we saw in TWE. It's great for brainstorming, kind of generating stories, dialogues, content. I love it. Personally, I use it at least twice a week for just communication, like create an email with this information and for this purpose. It's also great for problem solving. I actually personally was on ChatGPT for probably about 5 hours trying to figure out a problem with Excel. Or not Excel, a Google Sheets formula, and going back and forth trying to problem solve it to figure out why it wasn't working. And it's also great for just kind of developing out initial lesson plan outlines or content outlines. Canva Magic Studio also has very simple and structured prompts. It's very task-specific goals and tools. So you're using a specific tool for a specific purpose. Great for translation. They have tools for converting document types. So for example, taking a doc and converting it into a presentation. And Canva is also amazing for image, video, and layout designs. We used Canva to develop this presentation. Magic School is very similar to TWE. Very task-specific tools. It has fields that you enter in the information so they can build out the output on what you want on the topic. They also have kind of AI recommendations to expand on the initial prompt. So unlike TWE, where it actually builds out kind of like the layout that you would print and give to students, Magic School, not so much. It's a little bit more informational expansions on it, although there are some that will generate questions. And Magic School has tools for all aspects of education and content area as IEP and 504 recommendations. It even has teacher jokes that you can use, and something for every content area. And as we saw with Diffit and TWE, right, they're both very simple. They're very task specific. Lots of opportunities to differentiate content, and can be used primarily with like ESL, language arts, history, science. Can be, at least with TWE, a little bit with math, but Magic School would probably be the preferred one, I would say, for math teachers over Magic School and TWE. So just a good reference. I didn't think about it until we already started the presentation, but before Jose sends out the presentation, we'll include links to all these tools, so you have the website links as well.
Sorry. Any questions that you guys have with any of the two programs, any concerns regarding the tools listed here, or anything that, I mean, open floor right now.
I pretty much think that it's not a question, but I think more like a statement. I think as a teacher, I will have to really access these websites, play with it, get comfortable with it, to be able to know how to use it appropriately in the classroom from the teacher's point of view, not so much from the student's point of view.
Yes, correct. I agree. It takes some time to kind of get an understanding how they work and that kind of thing. One of the things that you will see in the next slide, which we're not going there yet, is the tech support and implementation sessions. Part of it, Digital 18 is to do individual, like one-on-one as well. It doesn't have to be like having the entire agency or having just the department, but anything that those here live and through the recording that need to figure this out, or maybe so okay, I want to get different, I want to differentiate content, but I don't want to figure out what tools I need to, I don't want to try 5 tools. I don't have time for that. I need to know what tool I can use where I could get this result. And then what we do is that, we'll ask you a couple questions is to make sure that we could point you to the right direction. And then in that process, we help out in that figuring out process for you, what works best for you and that kind of thing. So we're here, kind of makes Digital 18 special in that sense, that we could help you adapt those resources to what you need, as an extension, what you're getting from a general PD.
As a math teacher, I'm very comfortable with Magic School.
And then that's Magic School, if that's the one that that works best for you. There's many things that you can do. A lot of it is like I like to use ChatGPT to kind of get a lot, but in my case, I do a lot of planning and I need some kind of structure, like outlines and stuff like that, and then I'll build off of that and create my content that way. But there's so many ways that you can, work with it. It's sometimes knowing how to access X, Y, or Z feature, or maybe you needed the brainstorm from ChatGPT and then everything else you do in Magic School or something like that. So there's many ways, but Magic School is a good choice. thank you everyone for being with us here today. You will receive the slides later in the week with the recording. They are the schedule an appointment also here on the slides. We will also send that as an email as well as an evaluation form. And then on the right side, we have the Let's Techucate, which are our monthly tech tips. We are we're starting to include AI tools as well, or AI tips that you can use with, with either Canva and other tools. So we'll be adding that there. And again, if there's any questions or concerns, just reach out to us. We are more than happy to assist you in what you need. And thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone.